La corrupción es un problema en México. México no puede funcionar sin corrupción. La policía en México acepta dinero cuando las personas desobedecen la ley.
Los oficiales toman dinero de los carteles porque tienen miedo de los criminales. El país tiene muchas personas que no están contentas con la corrupción en la policía. Las oficiales golpearon y iluminaron con fuego también. La corrupción en la policía en México es un problema muy serio. ¿Cómo afecta la corrupción policial a la sociedad en México?
Corruption in the police force has affected the people with a series of unarmed civilians being murdered. This has caused the people to fight back and protest. These protests started in June of this year. A video of a construction worker named Giovanni Lopez getting murdered by the police went viral and triggered a series of protests. 10 months after Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador assumed the Mexican presidency, Transparency International published its 2019 Global Corruption Barometer for Latin America and the Caribbean. 61% of Mexicans surveyed for the study said that the government was doing a good job combating corruption, compared to the 24% in 2017.
In June 2020, protesters gathered in cities across Mexico in response to a series of high-profile killings of unarmed civilians by the local police. In some cases, authorities beat and detained prisoners. These protests, which echoed the global wave of outrage sparked by the police killing of George Floyd in the U.S., also expressed the profound and long-standing mistrust and frustration that many Mexicans feel towards their abusive police forces. Giovanni Lopez Ramirez was a 30-year-old construction worker who died in police custody. The Ramirez family went to pick him up from the police station the day after his arrest, and they were directed to the morgue. They found Lopez Ramirez's body there, covered in bruises and with a bullet in his leg. Officials told them that the police had gotten carried away. Lopez Ramirez's brother also told reporters that the local municipal president had offered the family the equivalent of $10,000 not to share the story and threatened to kill them if they did. Across the country, protesters broke down doors of the Capitol building, torched police cars, set fire to a police officer. In response, plainclothes officers in unmarked pickup trucks armed with sticks and baseball bats threatened and detained protesters. The officers forced protesters in the back of their trucks and abandoned them in rural areas and beat them until they lost conscience. The governor of Jalisco, Enrique Alfaro, claimed orders for the police to crack down on protests came from criminal cartels, which suggests a serious issue of police corruption. A number of recent killings that came to light include Yair Lopez Jimenez, who died from asphyxiation while being arrested. The officer placed his boot on his neck until he lost consciousness. Carlos Andres Navarro died after being detained. His cause of death was listed as a heart attack, but his family claimed he was beaten to death. A 16-year-old Alexander Martinez went to run an errand for his mother and was shot dead by his police officer, who claimed he mistook him for someone else. In Mexico, death at the hands of police, arbitrary detention, torture in police custody, and cooperation between the police and criminal cartels occurs regularly. The most recent survey of detained people conducted by Mexico's statistical agency, the INEGI, revealed 2/3 had been beaten, hit during their arrest. More than 1/3 had been choked and waterboarded, a method where water is poured over a cloth covering the face and breathing passages of an immobilized captive, causing the person to experience the sensation of drowning. A fifth had been given electric shocks. Nearly a half of the cases, the person carrying out an arrest didn't identify as law enforcement.
Establishing stricter punishments will discourage corrupt behavior for police officers.
Obrador has prompted a wave of public confidence of his austerity plan, which has cut into government expenditures and unfair privileges enjoyed by politicians, though he has not created a clear plan to reform the criminal justice system, which is plagued by sloppy investigations, unsolved cases, and collusion between police and criminals.
If we were to create a plan to solve corruption within the police and criminal justice system in Mexico, it would involve establishing a stricter punishment for excessive force shown by police and a task force that keeps tabs on unreported crimes throughout the cities and towns.